Let's do things a little out of order today and start with the keycaps, because they're going to be the star of the video. These are the Awekeys metal keycaps inspired by the periodic table. The text on the box is quite shiny, which is a nice touch, and underneath it you get a thank you card. And underneath the foam you'll find the keycaps themselves. I've opted to get every single one of them, but you can just buy them individually for $18 to $21 depending on which one you pick. They are all sealed in their own individual bags, and to be honest, it's a real pain trying to get them back in there looking good. Bravo to whoever packaged these. Now the front of the box states that there are 16 metal keycaps, which isn't a lie, but they aren't all different metals. The back of the box says that there are 14 due to the 2 copper and aluminum ones, but they don't mention that the gold, silver, platinum, and rhodium keycaps are just electroplated on the box. You have to go to their website or Kickstarter page to find that out, but stick around to the end of the video because I do have a keycap that is actually made out of one of those metals, and I'm going to compare it to the sound of the rest of the metal keycaps on this board. These are cherry profile keycaps, by the way, and besides the 4 metals I just mentioned, the keycaps are all row 1 keycaps. The 4 that I mentioned are for the arrow keys. Keep that in mind in case you're thinking about buying one of those for your escape key as an artisan or something. And since there are only 12 for the row 1, that does mean that you won't have one for your escape or F13 if you have an F13 key. But let's put those to the side for now, because before we can even think about putting them on a board, we're going to need another set of keycaps to match them. We could get a set of metal keycaps like Awekeys' upcoming full metal set. Subscribe if you want to see me check those out in the future. But for now, I have something else in mind to stay on theme. Rather than leaning into the metal parts of these keycaps, I'll be going full in with the periodic table theme using the Heisenberg keycaps from Awekeys. These are a Daiso PBT keycap set based of course on Breaking Bad. There are 3 layers of keycaps giving it pretty good layout support, but more importantly, each of the alphanumeric keys have yellow subtext with an element from the periodic table on them, making it perfect for this build. As for the board, I've chosen the NK87 Aluminum Edition by, again, Awekeys. I wanted something with a metal plate that didn't sound clacky, and it needed an F-row and arrow keys, so this fit the build perfectly. Plus, it's a little more old school in a way that I'll explain later. The unboxing experience is fantastic, by the way. You feel really cool taking everything out, and the whole thing just feels nice and hefty. It comes in a case, which I was happy to see, and the accessories get their own little packages. As for what you get, one of the boxes contains your USB A to C cable. I do not like it. The whole thing is black and rubbery, and for some reason it reminds me of when telephones used to plug into the wall, the cables that would connect the phone to the telephone. It doesn't feel good. As for the keycap and switch holder box, you just pop that in half and they just slide out of there. It's very cool. Honestly, I think I enjoyed the unboxing experience more than I did using these tools, because they're not that good. Let's hope the same doesn't go for the keyboard itself. Speaking of keyboards, let's get this thing opened. The case itself is fine, hard enough that I trusted to keep my keyboard safe, but it's not very fancy. There is no flap on the inside like a lot of cases to keep the keyboard separated from the accessories in the pouch. The keyboard itself is held down by straps, but they're kinda hard to work with. The long ones go back in the case way too easily, and the small ones are hard to keep on top of the keyboard when you're trying to put it back in the case. The keyboard's profile is pretty plain, and by plain I do mean boring. The top and the side are just straight edges. If that's your preference, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does make it harder to pick this keyboard up. The back has the Awekeys logo on it, along with these 2 giant pre-applied rubber feet. Fortunately, we don't have to peel those off to get the keyboard open though, because the mounting style of this keyboard is super weird. Before that though, you may have noticed that this keyboard came with switches already installed. These are the Nolive switches. They came installed with the Olive version of this keyboard. These are not a pre-lubed linear switch, and I had to lube them myself because stock they sounded terrible. But it's my understanding that these are a recolored NK cream switch. Here's what they sound like lubed, because I'm not going to subject your ears to the stock sounds. I mentioned earlier that this keyboard has a weird mounting style, and to get it open all we need is a T6H bit. It's not a tray mount board though, as you might suspect from the fact that we just unscrewed screws from the plate. This is actually a sandwich mount board, as some people like to call it. The PCB itself is screwed into the top of the case like a top mount board, but the bottom of the case is screwed into the PCB as if it was a tray mount, hence the sandwich mount people call it. As for why I'm sure this keyboard won't be clacky despite the metal plate, take a listen to this. That's the sound of the bottom case pinging without the white thing in there, and here's what it sounds like with it in. all that ping just instantly goes away, and the same thing happens for the top of the keyboard as well. If we just unscrew the 12 screws around the PCB holding it in place, we can take a closer look at the plate and PCB and see that there's a lot of that white stuff sticking through, and even though the plate is metal, you can't hear any of that pinging. And I'm pretty sure that's because this white stuff is silicone. See, before the days when every keyboard came with every type of phone you could think of stuffed in there, people had to find other ways to dampen the sound of their keyboards, and one of those messier solutions was pouring in liquid silicone in there and letting it harden into what you see here. And Awekeys has not only included case silicone, but also put a thick layer in between the PCB and plate as well, so there is no pinging whatsoever. They also have strips of it lined up against the entirety of the top case, making it so that the PCB can never come in contact with any of that metal. Here's what the top case sounds like without and with the PCB screwed in. But enough about the board, we're here to talk about metal keycaps, so let's get the plastic ones on and see what they sound like, then move swiftly along to the stars of the show. Okay, so two things. A, those stabs suck. Those are the default stabs that come with the board, and I don't care enough to fix it, because the board is not the star of the show. And B, I just realized I had a better enter key. Now that all the normal keyboard stuff is done at last, we can finally take a look at our metal keycaps. Up first is rhodium. According to Wikipedia, the main use of this metal has something to do with automobiles, though I'm not entirely sure what. Apparently it's also very rare, which is probably why this keycap is only electroplated, as opposed to having the whole thing made of it. Up next we have aluminum. Its main purpose is to make cool keyboard stuff. Keyboards, keycaps, anything you want involving keyboards. You may remember me saying at the beginning of this video that there are two aluminum keycaps. This one is the black one. Apparently there are two to save costs. After that is zinc. Zinc is found in everyone, everything, and basically everywhere. Apparently in the developing world, zinc deficiency affects 2 billion people, so why take vitamins when you can just eat keycaps? SN apparently stands for tin. I don't know who decided to name it like that, but tin is used basically for everything. Personally, when I think about tin, I think about those cans that I fished up in Harvest Moon when I'm just trying to get some freaking fish, and it's only giving me boots and tin cans. No, FE does not stand for Fire Emblem, it stands for iron. Apparently the adult human body contains about 4 grams of it, so this should last me a while. Bi is what all the girls I keep asking out are, but they're already all in relationships with other girls, so... Apparently it also stands for bismuth, just in case you are wondering. TI, or if you believe NVIDIA, Ti, stands for titanium, the metal of the future. It is light, strong, and I can't wait till people make keyboards out of it. Cu is copper, great material for building keyboards, plates, PCBs, keycaps, anything you want really. CR is chromium. It is an open source browser project that aims to build a safer, wait. Hold on, that can't- I thought we were talking about metals. Whatever. NI is nickel. If I had a nickel for every time I'd been rejected because the girl I asked out was already in a relationship with another girl, I'd be rich. Wait a second. MG is of course magnesium, and this joke about me eating the keycap for nutrients has gotten old before I even finished it. So let's just move on. We somehow managed to circle back to aluminum, and I have to say that this one as opposed to the black one just feels rougher. Like the black one is really smooth, this one isn't. We have another CU, this one is brass this time instead of copper, but apparently brass in general is just copper mixed with zinc. Can we mix those two keycaps to make this one, I wonder? AG is silver, but this is just electroplated because it would be far too expensive to make a whole keycap out of silver. Imagine wasting all that money on a single keycap made out of silver. Anyone who does that must make terrible financial decisions in general. PT is the game that Konami stole from us, screw those guys, but it also stands for platinum. Ora 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 ora. Oh, and this is just electroplated as well. And last but not least is gold. This is probably the closest I will come to ever holding something made of gold, because this is just electroplated. Now at the beginning of the video I also mentioned that I have a keycap made out of one of those electroplated materials, but before we get to that I want to try something out real quick. This will only take a minute. See, we have a copper keycap here, and I also have a keyboard that has a lot of copper in it. So what would it sound like putting that copper keycap on that keyboard? This is my Mode Envoy. I made a video about it a while back. You can check it out if you want, but the main point is that this uses a copper weight, copper accent, and copper plate. So let's see how it sounds with its normal plastic keycaps versus a copper keycap. And now for the much more exciting sound comparison. This is a sterling silver keycap. I got this from a store called Thoc.design. That is literally the name of the store. And this keycap is 0.925 sterling silver. This is the most expensive keycap I own. It costed me more than all 16 of those keycaps that we just went through to put together. This was a huge waste of money, and I am still waiting for them to stock a solid gold keycap. I am going to buy that, no matter what it costs. Anyways, I've kept you waiting long enough. Let's see how this sounds like compared to the electroplated silver keycap. And that's it, those are the sounds of the keycaps made by Awekeys, inspired by the periodic table. Let me know what you think, are any of them worth it? Are you gonna buy any of them to put on your escape key as an artisan, or will you buy the entire set like I did? And do you think that silver keycap was worth the money compared to the electroplated silver keycap? If you liked the video, do consider leaving a like and subscribe if you want to see me check out their full set of metal keycaps in the future. If you can't wait that long, check out my video on the Choice 65. I built that with all metal keycaps, and it sounds incredible. Give that a watch. I'll see you next time.